everybody. Welcome back to the Because She Can series. I am so excited about my guest today. I have Nathalie Santa Cruz Bacardi. Nathalie is a fashion designer and founder of the fashion startup St. Cruz Collection. She competed at Miss Puerto Rico 2021 as Miss Rio Grande. She received her bachelor's in biology from UVA, Wahoo, and her master's from the London College of Fashion. So welcome, Nathalie.
Thank you. And hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here and to be speaking with Hannah, which we studied together at UVA. So this is a big catch up and encounter. I'm probably going to get into this, but pageantry was first introduced to me by Hannah. And so it's a great space and it's she's such a girl power. So I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. Okay. I'm so excited to talk to you, especially since you've competed at Miss Puerto Rico, since you're now starting your own fashion line. So I kind of want to start there. Tell me a little bit more about the St. Cruz collection. What was kind of the inspiration behind it and what is it like now?
Yeah, it's funny to think back on what was that initial inspiration because it's already changed so much since when I've started my initial ideas. When it started, it was this dance wear that I could, or the person who bought it could wear to dance, very fashionably so. And if you come out of a sweaty rehearsal, you can throw on some sneakers, throw on some little kitten heels or mules and kind of go grab a bite to eat and still look very fashionable and not like in your sports bra and kind of leggings type wear. So it was this multi-use outfit, which was great for this like COVID season where everyone's really focusing on health and getting out and active. And now it's completely changed. That's still kind of alive and well, but fast forward past my participation at Miss Universe Puerto Rico, and I've launched my first collection of spring dresses in the spring collection. I've made some jackets for artists that are, on stage and singing out in Puerto Rico and the rest of the world. And so it's turned now into like a custom label where I've made specific pieces for people. And I think that's what I love is because the creativity has totally shifted from like a mass scale to like a custom. And it's just so amazing to look back and everything that's happened in just the short time frame of a year.
I love it. I didn't realize it had started as dance wear, which I think actually makes sense because you and I met at UVA because we danced together. We were on the same dance team. And so you've kept on dancing. What is it like to make these custom pieces? I can imagine that a lot of thought and effort goes into that.
I think that's the most exciting part because the reason I added that element of dance was to keep that creativity alive. I wanted to make a piece that spoke further than what you were wearing. You can tell stories with dance, like music videos in the terms of like how we market it. And so for me, that was even the more fun part was creating a whole storyline off of a couple pieces of clothing. But when you make something custom, you say, how do you want to feel? How do you want to portray yourself? And it's like a mini vision in itself on every single piece. So I think that's the really exciting part about it is just how custom you get and being really specific with your creativity and then completely switching when you have a new client. So I love the way that it's turned, but it not the way that I expected and definitely wasn't an easy road, but it's been awesome.
No, talking about the road, when we were at UVA, you were studying biology and I thought your life was going to go in a completely different direction. And now you've kind of switched over to a career in fashion. You got your master's from the London College of Fashion. So what kind of went into that big pivot decision? Where did that come from?
Yeah, it's a little crazy. I mean, it's kind of funny because when you look back, you can kind of see the little chips that kind of lead you to the fashion part. When I was studying to be a doctor, what I wanted to be was a pediatric surgeon. A surgeon because I wanted to use my hands. I wanted to move. I wanted to create in a way, create more health, you could say. And so I don't know. I just always had this like vein of creativity. I wasn't really dancing as much, even though we met through that. So I lost that piece of dance and going to fashion was a way that I said, how can I do everything that I love? Another reason I was wanting to study medicine was to help children. So I said, okay, I can make fashion for kids. And so how can we put all these pieces together? And that kind of was born and it's just been growing since. But in another world, I'd still love to be a doctor. It just didn't quite work out that way.
Wouldn't we all? I know I took 2 biology classes and I was like, I don't know if I'm feeling this. So I think we both
Yeah.
figured that one out. But you are such a creative, and I'm glad that you've kind of found this creative outlet in terms of just kind of breaking into the fashion world, because I know it's a huge world. I feel like it's all about the connections. What was the most challenging part of that, just coming out as a new designer?
Yeah, I mean, the road that I've taken, I think, speaks for itself because I started as dancewear and now I'm making custom. So it just speaks to how the road has morphed me into what the brand is today. I think the most difficult thing for me, and the reason I ended up even doing custom, was because during COVID, my manufacturers failed me. I wasn't getting packages on time. Just things weren't working out the way that they planned. And I realized, I can't rely on all these people, and creating this team kind of outsourced around the globe really isn't working out for me. I need to bring things back home. I need to figure it out by myself. I need to learn new skills. And that's when I started sewing, and that's when I started making things. And when I look back onto it, it's just about perspective. It's about pivoting. It's about what didn't work and learning. And I think like that's the entrepreneurial spirit you have to have success. And it's what's kept me afloat and has given me new opportunities along the way. So yeah, it's really been the road and all the mistakes I've made that's led me to everything that I've been able to do. But I guess that's also the beauty of it. So
No, I think that's a really good message. Like, pivot. Don't be afraid to pivot. To be an
mhm.
entrepreneur, you have to be, a little bit risky. And so the fact that you kind of recognize that you needed to take it back a little bit and pull back from those manufacturers, I think that's a brave move. When you're leaning so far into one path, it's really hard to kind of like pull back and reverse. So that I think was the right move. And I'm glad to see it's kind of like turned you into a place that is working well now. I do want to kind of ask about the pageantry, because I
Mhm.
guess while this all was going on, you were competing for Miss Puerto Rico. And I think Miss Puerto Rico was your first pageant, if I'm correct.
Mhm.
So where did the motivation to compete for Miss Puerto Rico come from?
So the motivation was just everything falling into the right place at the right time. I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, my first pageantry look was when I saw you competing for Miss Idaho and for all the different things. And I don't know if you remember, it was the summer of our junior year. And I said, I want to do a pageant. I think we almost became roommates because you were going to stay that summer. And I said, what do you do? And I still have a really old email from you giving me a diet for my workouts. And I remember the beginning was like oatmeal was for the mornings, and if you, sorry, there was a little
Yeah.
star that said, if you get hungry, have a protein scoop. And so that was it was always something that I was interested in. It was just on the back burner, and I was moving countries and states, and I just never had a moment to just stop and say, what do I want? What do I want to do? What haven't I done yet? And COVID, and I even quit my job in the middle of COVID because I didn't like what I was doing and I needed a restart. And pageantry and that opportunity came up, and it was a fresh start. It was going into things that I've always wanted to do, but was doing all the things I should have done, like be a doctor and study medicine, like take the great job with the great pay. That wasn't something that was probably really important to learn. I'm looking back, I'm grateful, but wasn't my first choice. And so I was making all these choices that I thought were right and not really following my heart. And Miss Puerto Rico not only equipped me to do everything that I can do now, but just, yeah, it was really an opportunity to just go for it in a time that was the right place and the right moment. So,
I love it. I remember when I saw you signed up, I said, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. She's doing it, because I do remember all those years ago sending you those emails and answering your questions. And competing in Puerto Rico, though, is probably very different than competing in the US.
mhm.
But what was kind of your biggest takeaway from that experience? And is there anything you wish that you would have known before you had gone into it?
Yeah, these are loaded questions because being my first pageant, I came out with so much. And I think what I love was just I realized how capable I am. I've always been this like really confident girl, and then it wasn't even until after the pageant that I kind of all kicked in really into gear and I took everything away, because when you're in it, you're focused on the goal. You're like, I'm going to win. I'm going to do this. This is what I have to do. When you're checking all the boxes. But when I didn't win and I got to the end, I had a blank slate. I didn't have a job. I wasn't in school, so I wasn't going to go back to study. And so everything that I learned through the pageant, I equipped in order to start St. Cruz in a different way and just kind of move forward. So just looking back, I was like, wow, I'm so capable. And after this, I'm even more equipped. And it just really launched me forward. And then your second question was,
is there anything you wish you would have known?
okay. So this is also loaded because for me, it's like the reason I lost. But I have this, yes, I feel it's like my one thing I could have done great, or better, and which I wish I would have known. And that's, I have this very vibrant personality. You know me very well. I'm super extroverted. I can talk to anybody in a room. It doesn't scare me. And I feel like I'd shown that throughout the entire process. And then came the interview. And I thought, I also had little voices saying like, you need to be more queenly. You can't be so extroverted all the time. And so I went in thinking I have to play this papel or role, as you would say in Spanish, of this queen. And so I walked in very serious in my interview. And I just talked there like I was Princess Diana, being like, yes, that's the answer to your question, just like so serious, which is not me at all. And I wasn't myself. And I just wish that, for me, I feel like that's where I lost it, where I guess you could say my points plummeted or something like that, very dramatically. But I just wish that I would have been myself and I would have shown every part of me, because I'm special and I'm great and I'm unique. And I didn't get to sell that. I thought the organization knew enough of me through the process, and I had to show this other version of me that wasn't me. And so that's what I wish I would have known. And that's what I wish I would have done differently.
I think that's a great point. I feel like there are so many pageant girls who make that same mistake. You get to the interview room and suddenly like there's this moment of, oh my gosh, I have to be this person that they're expecting me to be. And so you try to become that person in those 5 minutes before you go in, and then you've completely lost yourself. I feel like I've fallen victim to that. I remember my interview for Miss Teen USA. I was like, oh, I know how to interview. I'll go in there and interview. But I didn't like have any of that Hannah sparkle, because I think I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm interviewing for Miss Teen USA. Like, am I what they want? I don't know. So it's really important to kind of be yourself in that moment. And instead of trying to be what you think they want you to be, just dial in on who you really are and reaffirm that. So now you know for next time, right?
Absolutely. And I will compete in something somewhere at some point for Puerto Rico. That's still definitely a dream. And I feel like, you do it once and you're like, oh, I have to go back. I have to do it again. So the Puerto Rico will see a future of me. When and how, I'm not sure, but definitely.
I can't wait to see, and I can't wait to cheer you on, whatever that is. And I want to ask about, because you've mentioned that you did Miss Puerto Rico, and then you kind of had this reinvigoration of your energy to go pursue St. Cruz collection. And I feel like there's a lot of overlap between the pageant world and the fashion world. So how have you seen that kind of overlap? Have you seen the involvement in Miss Puerto Rico helping the success of your fashion line, or working vice versa? How's that been?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think everything leading up until before Miss Universe Puerto Rico was very business-minded, business side. I went to fashion business school. I was working in digital marketing. And so I was doing all this like tech stuff, everything that I was working on with the manufacturers, it was very operational. The design tech packs, like I was never in front of the camera. What's the experience of the model? What should she look like? The makeup, just the entire team that goes around the production after all the technical things have been done. And so I felt like I had half the book completely down, and then the other half was kind of missing parts. And Miss Puerto Rico really showed me how to be in front of the camera and even be a role model for my own brand, and just kind of like little elements and things I maybe wouldn't have thought of. And then of course, open my network to people who could help me. I think that's another really important part of entrepreneurship, is like knowing your strengths and knowing where to ask for help. And so it just created a community where I was able to bounce off ideas and just creative talent, which is so important when you're creating an entire brand.
Yeah. Yeah, the pageant world is a huge network and there's so many people who are connected. You don't know when those connections are going to come in handy. And I think you are the model for the collection, right? I'm looking at the Instagram and you are like the face of the brand. So did pageantry kind of like give you the confidence to be the model for St. Cruz?
Yeah, I think so. I think I had so much fun that I didn't want to stop. I needed an excuse to get back in front of the camera. And so yeah, I think as it grows, I'm definitely, gonna have other people, but it was also very special because it was my first spring collection. It was my first design collection. And I really did make everything to my size, the perfect fit. So I almost had to be the model. But yeah, it was just a really special moment where I got to put everything together, and it represents me whether or not I was going to sell that clothes. It's a bit of like my portfolio, and I've really used it in that way and able to do custom, use it as a portfolio. So, but I'll definitely be bringing in more people as we get bigger, and I guess I'll give some of the
Yes.
modeling gig away.
I know you're a jack of all trades, but you can't do literally everything for the brand. I do want to ask, because we've been talking a lot about entrepreneurship and you definitely have the entrepreneurial spirit. Are there any traits or skills that you think other women trying to start their own ventures should have?
Yeah, I think we've definitely touched on them, but I'll put it in a nice bow just to say perspective is key. You need to be positive. I mean, it's so cheesy and you think it's redundant. And I even said like, oh yeah, you make a lot of mistakes. I'm like, sure. And I was like, I'm not going to make mistakes. I'm going to get another first go. And it's so not true. You will make mistakes. You will just do things and find better ways to do it. So keeping that open mind where you're constantly pivoting, you're constantly getting better and not taking it to heart and thinking, oh, I'm not good enough. No, you just learned how to do something better, change, grow, ask for help when you need it. And always stay positive. Definitely believe in yourself. No one's going to believe in yourself more than you do. And I think the last thing that we talked about was it blew my mind, but definitely that piece of
Networking?
networking, yes, as well.
Yeah.
Definitely the networking.
Yeah. No, that's, I think, a big lesson is you are your biggest cheerleader. So if you aren't cheering for yourself, then you're in trouble, right? Because sometimes the only person who believes in your dream is you. And that doesn't mean that you have to let the dream go. It just means that it needs a little bit more TLC. So great advice. I am not surprised at all about all the amazing things you have accomplished. It's really incredible to see your creative and entrepreneurial spirit just thriving. So I'm so happy for you. I did want to ask, yes, I did want to ask, how can we keep up with you like on social media? How can we order pieces from the St. Cruz collection? Like, where should we keep tabs on you?
Yeah, so the site is down, but I promise it's coming back up. So you can't order anything, but if you DM me, you see something cute, we can definitely get that over to you. My handle on Instagram personally and as a designer is at Nat, which is short for Natalie Santa Cruz Bacardi. And then the handle for the brand itself is St. Cruz Collection. And that's it. That's where you can find me. And then the website is stcruzcollection.com. But as I said, it'll be up soon. We're doing a revamp because we keep growing and changing, and so the site has to go along with us. But
I get it. Growing pains, right? As you achieve more success, you gotta update the website.
yes.
I want to ask you, because we're kind of wrapping up, but I want to ask, do you have any final words of advice for the audience, whether that is pageant related or fashion related, life related, just any parting words that you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I think just what's coming to mind, and I feel like I didn't maybe touch on enough when we were talking about those networking and not being afraid to ask for help. I think we need to touch upon the human side of it. So I think we need to like understand, because people sometimes ask me a lot, like, how are you so confident? Or why are you not afraid to talk to other people? And I think like what we're all searching for is kind of success and to feel important and to feel valued. And when you ask for help, you're telling that other person, like, you have something that I need. You're really great at something and you're showing them that value. And they're not and they're going to want to share those things with you. And so I think that what has been so successful for me is not just like not being afraid to ask for help, but really just making other people important in that process. So I think when you're bringing it down to a human level, just like that really human connection and that piece is so important. And I think that it's going to help people bring people onto your project, just like really opening your heart. And so I think when you do everything with passion and you really open that side of things, it's going to work out for you. So I don't know, good vibrations to all future projects.
No, I agree completely. I feel like asking somebody for their opinion or for their mentorship or their help is a huge form of flattery, and hopefully that person sees it that way and they make the time to help you. So I mean, some of my best mentors, some of the people I go to, they certainly do that, and I feel like you and I probably both want to do that for other people who would be interested in coming to us. Like I would love that. I'd be so flattered. So that is a great message to part on. I want to thank you again for coming on for this episode. It was so good to catch up, and hopefully we get to see more of the collection soon, and maybe we'll see you on the pageant stage again.
Yes, there is so much new coming with St. Cruz. I'm just doing new stuff all the time. What's coming up next is like a vintage upcycle collection, just to throw that out there. So it should be really interesting what I can create. And it's been so lovely talking to you, Hannah. Big girl boss right here. Every time I see your Instagram, there's something new coming up. I just liking everything. But honestly, it's really great to have me here. And this has been a pleasure.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Nathalie. All right, everybody. That is it for today. We will see you next time. Bye.